you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from theChrisVossShow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There, ladies sings that makes it official. Welcome to the big show. We certainly appreciate you guys being here. As always, the Chris Voss Show is the family that loves you, but doesn't judge you, at least not as harshly as your family does, because your family's been looking at you for side-eye for years, wondering, is he going to make anything of himself? Is he a failure to launch mode? So knock it off. For further, show your family, friends, and relatives. Goodreads.com/Chris Voss. LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. I just make it. I don't know what the hell's going on. YouTube.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss on the TikTok. Today we have an amazing author. Have you ever noticed in the last 16 years and 2,000 episodes that we always have amazing authors on the show? It's like 2 to 3 times a weekday. And you should always tune in and listen to every episode of the Chris Voss Show. You're going to be so damn smart that your family will stop giving that side eye. See what I did there? She's the author of the latest book that's coming out June 4th, 2024. My God, we're halfway through the year. Nicole, and that's not to the title of the book, by the way. It should be, maybe. I don't know. It's her newest book. It's out called Rewire. Break the cycle. Alter your thoughts and create lasting change. Your neuro kit for everyday life. Nicole Vignola joins us on the show today. We'll be talking about her insights and all of her scientific knowledge and what she's discovered in writing her book. Welcome to the show, Nicole. Nicole, how are you?
Thank you very much for having me. I'm great. And I must say that intro actually pumped me up as well, so I'm ready for this.
We like how that intro just kind of fires people up. It's got that juice.
I'm awake. I'm here.
There
I'm
you
present.
Go. There you go.
Not that I wasn't before,
but there you go. So give us your .coms. Where do you want people to find you on the interwebs?
I'm on Nicole's Neuroscience out on Instagram, Nicole's Neuroscience on TikTok, and nicolesneuroscience.com.
There you go.
So thank you very much.
And then people just have to remember how to spell neuroscience, right, when they go to those websites?
But hopefully by the end of this talk, they will be able to. So.
They will. We're teaching a lot of neuroscience people to make your brains better because your family keeps giving you that side eye. So exactly. Give us a 30,000 overview of your new book, Rewire, Break the Cycle.
Yes. So it's my firstborn child, I must say. So it's, a lot of people have thoughts, habits, behaviors that are holding them back. What neuroscience tells us is that these thoughts and behaviors reside within the wiring of our brains. And that's why I've called the book Rewire, because we can rewire our brains to get rid of these habits, make new habits. And we actually have this ability up until old age. So for a long time, we didn't know that we could make, we call it plasticity or plastic changes to the brain after the age of 25. But we now know that we absolutely can, which is remarkable.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Do you do that through 3D printing to have the new plasticization pieces in?
Fun fact, the word plasticity comes from the Greek word plastikos, which means to mold. And it's the reason why it's called plastic surgery, not because it's attributed to being like a Barbie doll.
Wow. Plastic surgery. Oh, look, my God. That just, like, my brain just went on and went.
Yeah, I know.
Duh. Plastic surgery. I know a few people I want to mold, but usually it's with a crowbar to the head. I want to mold their brain. I set that up wrong. I want to mold their brain. Anyway, don't resort to violence, people.
Don't do that.
Is this your first book? And tell us about your journey of life and what got you into these fields.
Yes, so I started studying neuroscience. I was deeply fascinated with the inner workings of the human mind, probably my parents' family giving me the side eye, which pushed me even further to wanting to go and understand where that was coming from. But no, I had mental health in my family. My father had bipolar disorder, and I just wanted to understand. We talk about mental health and psychology, and I think it's all wonderful, but I was deeply fascinated with the mechanisms, like why. I needed to know more. Why? But why? And it was kind of this rabbit hole of wanting to know on a molecular level what is going on in the brain for us to behave in a particular way, for us to enact particular habits, behaviors, and thought patterns.
There you go. And what made you want to write this book? What was the motivation?
I got approached by HarperCollins and Penguin in the UK, actually. And I always thought I was going to write a book. I just didn't think it would be this Nicole. I thought it would be kind of like Big Nicole. But the opportunity came 2 years ago, and I grabbed it by the balls, and I went with it. Grabbed it by the balls, grabbed the bull by the horns, and went with it. So I kind of threw myself in the deep end, which is something that I do talk about sometimes. You've got to kind of go to places where you don't have any confidence to get something. And that's what I did. I had no idea what I was doing, and I just took a leap of faith.
There you go. For a second there, your accent made me think you said something other than bulls, but you grabbed it. So that was good. So what are some of the things this book is going to help? What are some issues people have that your book is going to help them break the cycle of?
So a lot of people have something called negativity bias. We actually all have a negativity bias. It's the way that the brain is pretty much hardwired or inclined to be wired. And that's down to evolution. We had to attach negativity to survival. So we started to attach more importance to that. The problem is that we don't need to do that anymore. In some respects we do, of course, but it means that it can drive our everyday life. So in one way that can show up is you either jump to assumptions about yourself or other people. Perhaps you repeat a particular narrative that says you're not good enough, you can't, this or that. Or a very classic one is you are having a bad day, and then you start attaching yourself to this bad day, and then you start sort of trying to find reasons why this bad day is so bad. So you start kind of piling it on, and then this happened, and then that happened, and then this happened. And then next thing you know, you're overlooking all the wonderful aspects of your life. So Chris, if I said to you how many blue things are in your environment, it's not very hard because our screen is blue right now. The background is blue. I can see a lot of blue. And if I said to you, okay, how many red things did you find? You're going to say, I wasn't looking for the red things. I was looking for the blue things. Yeah. And that's kind of how negativity bias works. If you're focusing on the negative, you overlook the beauty of life.
I think a lot of people do that in marriages. At least yes. They do on the back end of it. Does that affect our confirmation bias when we look for data by chance?
Exactly.
Is that those two connected at all?
Yes, exactly. So there's an element of wanting to confirm that your belief is true. So if you say to yourself you're having a bad day or your life sucks, then you'll go through life trying to find reasons as to why that statement is correct.
So you confirm that negativity bias with your thing, huh?
Exactly. One way that we can mitigate that is by slowly sort of starting to reframe. So you might be having a bad day right now. It doesn't mean that the rest of the day is doomed. Or you might not think that you're not good enough for something, but that could change. So the reframing part comes where you say something like, okay, I suck at it right now, but I can learn. Instead of trying to plaster it with this kind of toxic positivity and say, no, you're brilliant, don't worry about it, it's all going to be okay.
So that's toxic positivity, those affirmations that people do?
Yeah. Affirmations can work. You just, I think sometimes somewhere along the line we maybe took it a little bit too far with the affirmations.
What about the people who do that manifesting crap? Like they're manifesting with whiteboards and stuff. Is that too much of the foo-foo?
No, there is some science there. Now, I was going to talk about visualization. So visualization, the problem is it needs to be paired with motor activity. Now, visualization is the concept of visualizing who you want to be in the future. And that's where those vision boards come in. The problem is that generally speaking, people manifest these very abstract things in their lives that are not tangible, and the brain doesn't work like that. Visualization works best in athletic performance. So we've seen it in studies, we've seen it in sports psychology. When athletes visualize a particular movement and then they physically enact it, the brain has already created a blueprint for what it needs to do. I don't know if you watch rugby, but Owen Farrell, he's a classic example of, he kind of does this like really weird head thing where he visualizes the ball going over the poles in rugby. Oh, really? And I think they're called poles. I'm South African, I should know that.
I don't know.
Well, there you go. And it's interesting because it actually helps him with this kick. Now, that's why visualization can work, but it has to be paired with something that then follows physically. It has to be more tangible. So if you want to be better in an interview, or you have a work meeting coming up and you're stressed, maybe you have a review with your boss, you can visualize yourself being calm under pressure, being able to respond to questions that maybe throw you off, and just kind of generally keeping your cool. And then enacting that in the workplace will actually come easier than if you hadn't practiced it at all. The woo-woo stuff comes when people say you can manifest, I don't know, being this like millionaire, I don't know. It could work. I'm sure it does, but the research says there's a strong link between physical enactment because the parts of the brain need to communicate.
Yeah, so I can't just lay around all day in my bed, not leaving the house and manifesting $1 million coming to me somehow.
Yeah. But, with that being said, if you manifest yourself thinking you're going to be a millionaire, you might go through life then confirming reasons why you could be. So maybe an opportunity comes around and you go, I'll take that and I'll grab it by the horns, just like I did with my book.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe that's what I did went through my success, because I grew up poor and I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be a millionaire.
There you
I wanted to have a big company. And
there you go.
I kept looking for opportunities, and then when the right opportunity struck and I was prepared with education and made it happen with some little bit of luck and elbow grease and hard work, it worked.
Exactly. I love that. I love that, because you saw a version of yourself that was capable of doing that. And if you hadn't believed that you could, then maybe you would have never gone to that journey.
Huh, maybe I should get one of the manifesting vision boards and buy some fucking crystals or some shit.
Yeah. Do a rain dance as well.
Yeah, I have those friends who do those bowl things, where they make the sound bowls.
Okay.
I think it's yoga kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they do all that. I'm not sure if they're smoking peyote, but I'd have to be smoking peyote when I'm doing that. So you help people if they're stuck in a habit or believing they aren't good enough. What about fixating on a particular story about yourself that you wish you could change? What type of story is that? A story from your past, maybe trauma of your childhood, or a belief system you have about who you are and what you're about?
Absolutely. So we have this programming that was given to us in our formative years, and it's pretty wild when you think about it. That programming isn't really ours. It's based on our environment, our parents, peers, what we saw growing up. You said you grew up in poverty, and then we're put out into the adult world and with this programming that isn't really yours. So the question is, what is that narrative that you're repeating? Is it something that was given to you by somebody else, or is that narrative yours? If it isn't, then you can change it like you did. You said, you didn't want this for yourself, and you could have easily have stayed stuck in that narrative that, this is where you belong, and whatever perpetuating story you may have hypothetically told yourself. And I'm glad you didn't tell yourself that one. So these narratives can keep us stuck because we build this ideology of who we are and where we belong and what belief system we reside in as well. But it's not really our programming. We also observe our parents and how they interact in the world. Through observational knowledge, we can learn how to get to school without being told. But through observational knowledge, we also learn how to yell at each other to communicate, because that's maybe what your parents did. So you learn that effective communication comes through screaming. And then these patterns.
Wait, it doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. Apparently not, but I don't know, because I didn't grow up in such a nice household.
Screaming and throwing things? That's how I got the side eye, see.
Exactly.
So there you go. Now, does this affect feelings too, along with thoughts? Is it harder for people to change feelings, maybe negative feelings about themselves, than just thoughts about themselves? Or are they too tied together, maybe? I don't know. I can't feel anything since Nam, so I don't know.
So we have a cognitive triangle that explains that our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors all affect each other. So the way you feel will affect your emotions, the way your emotions will affect your body language will affect your thoughts will affect your feelings, and so it goes. So they're all intertwined, they're all interlinked. And that is why there's some really interesting research around body posture and body language and how you carry yourself. If you walk into a room and you're like, hey guys, what's up? You're going to be like, okay, even subconsciously, you're going to think this person's confident. You might not actively think that they're a confident person, but there's going to be some nuance there where your body picks, or your brain picks up that this person is confident. If this person walks in with a kind of like, hey everyone, or you're going to think, do they know what they're talking about? And that's why putting yourself in a position where, you're confident, you're going to present, or whatever it is you're going to do, can actually then help you also feel better and feel more confident within yourself. So there's very interesting interplay between our thoughts, actions, and emotions, which is very interesting. And on top of that, to add an extra layer to it, the power of our thoughts is wildly powerful. They did a study in 1995. They took two groups of people. They asked one group of individuals to play a 5-finger piece on the piano. Neither group had ever played the piano in their lives before. And the second group had to imagine that they were playing that 5-finger piece on the piano. And what they saw was that both groups had similar levels of plasticity in the brain. That means that they had similar levels of new pathways being created in the brain just through thought alone.
Oh, wow.
And that's what's really interesting, because we can actually carve out pathways through our thoughts.
I need some carving. This old brain's going to shit on me. So
Yeah. And our thoughts can influence our physiology as well. So I want to do a little activity with you.
Okay.
I want you to close your eyes. I want you to imagine it's a hot
you're
summer
not going to
day.
do anything while I'm on the show, like poke my eyes out or something like that.
No, I'm going to put you in a hypnotic
slap me.
state. And
You're not going to hit me.
that'll be a good trick.
Be a good trick since she's on the other side of the world. All right, close my
I'm
eyes.
in Madeira. It's a tiny island off Portugal. Right, close your eyes. Imagine it's a hot summer day. I want you to imagine yourself walking to the fridge and you grab a waxy yellow lemon. It's shiny, it's cold. You bring it to the chopping board and you cut into it. And as you do that, the juice starts oozing out. You cut into it again, into a wedge. Something compels you to take that wedge of lemon and just bring it to your mouth and take a big bite out of it. Did you salivate?
Huh?
Did you salivate?
A little bit. My nose is wrinkling. I feel like a little bit
Yeah.
where I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. You can open your eyes.
You get a little bit of that lemony.
Yeah, exactly. So some people get like kind of like this feeling in their mouth, like, oh, your nose wrinkled.
Yeah.
And that's how powerful your thoughts are. You can evoke a physiological response just on your thoughts. And we know that because when I start thinking about my tax, my brain starts going, oh, bugger. And I can become quite stressed. I got an unexpected tax bill this year. But
there you go.
Anyway.
Well, that tends to have the effect on most people.
Exactly. Those kind of examples show us that what we think can trigger our body. So if we're perpetuating things like you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you could never do this, then you may end up enacting it because your body language is going to follow.
So body language is really important.
Yes.
So do you just have to kind of fake it till you make it with body language, maybe?
There's an aspect of, yes, you can, but also reframing your mindset. So your mindset, as I showed you through the lemon experiment, is wildly important as well. So one thing that we can do is do something called the physiological sigh. Now, the physiological sigh is a breathing mechanism that is a type of breathing that we can do to regulate our central nervous system. So let me backtrack a little bit. When you're stressed or triggered, or you've thought about the tax man and now you're in a kind of state of panic, it's very hard to reason with yourself in that state of mind. So if you're perpetuating like you're not good enough, you're about to go into this meeting and you suck, and your boss is going to like tell you all the awful things you've done, that's going to probably trigger an element of stress. Your brain is not designed to listen in a state of stress. It's designed to fight or flight.
Yeah.
If there's a lion in your vicinity, you're not going to start trying to understand why the lion is there. You're going to run away from it, or you're going to fight it. I hope you run.
Most likely I'm going to run. I think that's the gig here. Yeah.
I think that's the wise thing to do. I mean, I grew up in Africa, and I have a pretty good feeling that fighting it is not going to get you
Are
anywhere.
you supposed to run, though, from a lion? Or just back
You know what?
away
I think
slowly?
you just need to say a prayer and hope for the best.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, right. So your brain is not designed to listen. It's designed to run or fight. So if you're trying to reason with yourself in the state of mind, it can be very hard to do. So doing something like the physiological sigh can regulate your central nervous system back down. So let's do it twice together. It's an inhale through the nose and then another inhale through the nose. You pause at the top and a long exhale through the mouth. So the inhale through the nose is a little bit shorter. So let's do another one together. Let's go.
Are you doing two? You're going,
Yeah.
oh, that's harder. I don't think
do
I have
one
that kind of
more.
lung capacity.
Does that feel really nice?
Yeah. It's calming. Maybe I'll just sit here and do that the rest of the show.
Yeah.
We'll just close out the show for the next half an hour. We'll just be
Yeah. It's just
people are
turns
like, what's
into a
going on in
meditation.
this? It's just breathing. What the fuck?
Some ASMR.
It's a yoga show.
Yeah, exactly.
When did Chris start a yoga show?
When he got his sound baths. Okay, so that means that it can help you just interject those thoughts, and then you can reframe. So then you can say, okay, yeah, you do suck. You did do that thing that you shouldn't have done. Your boss is probably going to reprimand you for it, but let's just gain control of the situation, or whatever it is that you're dealing with. But it can help you put yourself in a more logical mind state so that you can then approach it with a sort of solution to the problem.
Ah, I love it. That sounds like a much better way of doing things. And we tend to breathe, like you say, when we're not in that fight or flight mode, and it can make all the difference in what we're doing there. This is very interesting, and using the things to rewire your brain. Oh, I remember the question I had for you. What about like when people have dementia and Alzheimer's and things? Is there a way to try and? I mean, I imagine it's a losing battle on the long enough timeline, but is there a way to try and rewire your brain or replasticize your brain to either protect against those things or fight them as they onset?
Yes, so there is research to show that neuroplasticity is being used as an intervention or therapeutic intervention for dementia. Now, we can't regenerate neurons, not in the majority of the brain anyway. There are two areas where there's speculation that this could happen, but it's at the moment, the clinical significance is irrelevant really, because if we could regenerate neurons, we wouldn't have things like dementia and Alzheimer's in the first place. But we can mitigate the current effect or the current status of our brain. So we can also increase synapses. So let's reverse a little bit. You've got a neuron, and then on this neuron, you've got this axon that comes off, and that's where communication happens. And then you've got these dendrites, which communicate with other neurons as well. And those can increase in size, so they can branch off and make more, and then communicate with other neurons and strengthen pathways, but we can't actually generate the cell of the neuron. So once that dies off, it's gone. So that's why neuroplasticity could potentially work in dementia by mitigating the effects and potentially even reinstating some level of activity through neuroplasticity in the sense of creating these new synapses. We can do that through aerobic exercise. We can do that through learning new things, so skill acquisition. We can do that through staying cognitively engaged through life. So that appears to be one of the biggest predeterminants of how we age is if we have a job. And I don't mean a job as in like a physical 9 to 5, because that would probably be the death of us. But I mean a purpose, something that you can keep yourself engaged with mentally.
Yeah. So like, if you love your kids, you raise your kids, you have got some hobbies there, you know, and all that good stuff. So there you go. So give us, as we go out, your final thoughts to pitch people on picking up the book, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, so the book will be available everywhere. It's on Amazon at the moment, but you can pre-order it from, what's the places that you guys use? The Barnes and Nobles and Walmart, or everywhere. It's available on there, pretty much. And it will be available in bookstores as well. But, I hate to say it, but Amazon's probably the best place to send everyone. And unfortunately, that's the way that the cookie has crumbled in this scenario. So Amazon, Rewire.
They kind of own the scenario, basically. Give us your .coms. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Nicole's Neuroscience on Instagram, Nicole's Neuroscience on TikTok, or if you type in my name, Nicole Vignola, it will come up. And nicolesneuroscience.com is my website.
There you go. Thank you very much, Nicole, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
There you go. And I'm learning, and you taught me to breathe, so that's important.
Yeah, use that anywhere.
I'm going to use it all the time, the breathing part.
I actually really hope you do, because you can use it at any point when you get cut off in traffic. Instead of the middle finger, you can just breathe.
Yeah, there's going to be less murdering around here.
Exactly.
The breathing. So there you go.
Less side eyes as well, hopefully.
Thank you. And thanks for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss, one on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.